Today's video is going to be a little bit different. For those of you who have been around for a minute, you know that I am a licensed marriage and family therapist who is obsessed with all things mental health, therapy, pop culture, trending, reality TV, all of the above. But for today's video, I want to take a more personal approach, and I want to share a season that I have felt like I've been in, and I'm hoping that you connect to it. I'm hoping that it's encouraging, empowering, and maybe it can be equipping in your season as well. Today, I want to talk about what to do when you feel lost, when you feel like you're just wandering and you don't have any direction, or when you feel like you've been in the same job or career or same season and you feel like you've just hit a dead end road, or you're no longer feeling encouraged, or you're no longer feeling like you are in the space that you were meant to occupy. So today we're talking all things feeling lost. Let's dive on in. Okay, I want to first talk about what brought up this concept, or what got me thinking about the feelings of feeling lost. So a couple of days ago, I had an opportunity to grab lunch with one of my best friends, and we were talking all things girly and all things God. And one of the things that came up is the feelings of feeling lost in regards to what's next. I am in a space where I absolutely love what I get to do. I love that I get to meet and counsel and work with women of all ages and help them in their mental and emotional health journey. With that being said, I've also been in a place these past probably 6 or so months where I feel like have felt disconnected, or I have felt lost in what I do outside of that. Now, I do want to clarify that I am also very aware that there are seasons of rest. There are seasons where I don't need to occupy those hours with anything else. But in the past 6 or 7 months, I have been feeling a stirring. I have been feeling there's a season of shift coming. So all that to say, I have just been in a season of feeling lost in regards to what's next, or what else is there, I should say. Again, I absolutely love what I do, and I don't see myself fully transitioning out of being a therapist, but I know that there are creative juices. There is something within me that I'm like, okay, I'm starting to feel unsettled, and I'm starting to feel a stirring. So when I was talking with my friend at our lunch, we were talking about like side hustles, but more importantly, what are things that are going to be fulfilling? What are some things that we can dive into that maybe we never had the ability to dive into? We didn't have the time, or we just didn't have the resources to dive into. And it really just had me thinking the feelings that I've been having in regards to feeling lost are valid, and they're going to just come in certain seasons. And I don't think there's anything wrong with the feelings of feeling lost. I think sometimes we get scared of feeling lost. We get scared of feeling like we don't know what's next. We don't know what's around the corner. We don't know what to maybe pursue. And one of the things I love talking about in my office is, especially with people who are going into college or coming out of college, there's this fear of, I don't know what's next. I don't know what's going to happen. I have this degree, but I don't want that job. I want to pursue this, but I don't know where I'm going to go. Those questions and those feelings are so valid, and they're so real, and I don't feel like that they're talked about enough. And again, for me, it's the idea of we just feel lost. We know that a transition's coming, whether we know the transition, so we know we're going to college, or we know we're about to graduate, or we aren't aware of what the transition will look like. So again, for me, I know that something's coming and shifting. I just don't know what that looks like or what that entails quite yet. But the feelings are the same, feelings of being lost or feeling like we're lost. And so when I'm meeting with girls in my office and we're talking through those feelings, talking through just the fear, honestly, the fear of being lost, or the fear of I'm not going to achieve what I want to achieve. And so when we're talking about it and when we're processing it, there are 3 main things that I typically like to share in those types of sessions. And these are 3 things that I am personally navigating and working through now. And there are 3 things that I want to share with you. So if you're feeling lost, if you're in a season where you know graduation's coming in a few months and you don't know what college looks like, or you're about to graduate college and you're like, I don't know what's next for me. I know that this is the degree, but I don't know what career or what job that looks like. I know that this is the expectation, but that's not my reality. If that's you, I'm hoping that these 3 things are helpful for you in the season that you may be feeling a little lost. The first thing that I want to encourage you or challenge you to do is create some sort of vision board, some sort of dream board. Now, this is something that I feel like I used to do like in middle school and high school. And it's something that I always thought was so weird. I'm like, I'm not going to put like people or words or, ideas on a board. Like, what does that do? Here's the thing. When we have a vision board, when we have a dream board, I think it, number one, can help creative juices start flowing and help us start thinking outside the box. Once we start looking at pictures or ideas or words, it just inspires something within us. But number two, it's important to have something visual that we can keep an eye on when maybe we are in hard seasons, or when maybe we are in moments of like, wait, why am I doing all this work again? And we have that vision board to look to. Now, the vision board can look however you want it to look. I know some people are only digital. So I know things like Notion, or there are apps out there where you can create your own vision board. I love doing mine on Pinterest. Yes, I'm still a Pinterest girly. I don't know if that's still a thing, but I love my Pinterest. But anyway, I love taking time and creating my board on Pinterest. Don't be afraid to dream. Don't be afraid to say, okay, this is an idea that I've had since I was little and I just can't get rid of this idea. Or this is something that I could see myself doing. Or even sometimes when it's positive, taking what people have said, hey, I think this would be great for you, or I see you doing X, Y, and Z. Allowing that to fuel some of the vision or some of the ideas that you put on your board. There's just something powerful about practically putting together what you see for yourself. Now, if you're in a space where you're like, I literally don't even see anything for myself, then this may be not your first step, but we'll get to something that might help you as well. But creating a visual, creating something that you can see to aspire to, can be really helpful. I do want to clarify, when creating a vision board, when creating a dream board, we can be inspired by other people 100%. We can be influenced. We can be, we can look at them and say, yeah, I like what they do. With that being said, I think we need to understand that there's a difference between being inspired by and comparing to. We can be inspired by people, but we can't be comparing who we are to what they do. That's really, really important. And so sometimes it's going to take us getting off of social media and just really thinking or really researching outside of social media ideas and things like that. Social media is such a great place for inspiration, and I agree with that. And I think that social media can be utilized well. I also think sometimes it can be used to compare, where we feel bad, where it's like, well, they know what they were doing, or they were able to gain 1,000 or 100,000 followers overnight, and I'm struggling at my 500. When we compare, that's when it can be really hard, and that's when it can negatively impact our vision board and our dream board. These are your visions. These are your dreams. These are your places of passion. So sticking to that is going to be really important. The second thing that I like to encourage myself to do, and this is hard for me to do, so if it's hard for you, that's totally okay and valid. But the second thing I like to encourage myself to do, and I like to encourage other people to do, put yourself out there. Now, that is so scary. I'm even saying it, I'm like, no, thank you. But you have to put yourself out there, especially if you're in a place where you thought you heard the vision board and you're like, yeah, I don't even know what I want to do. That's okay. That's completely okay. But we sometimes won't know what we want to do unless we try new things to do. So what does that look like? Maybe it's signing up for a random club on campus, or maybe it's signing up for something at your high school where it's like, okay, I mean, it can't hurt to try, whether it's, I don't know, something academic or something athletic, whatever the case may be. Whether it's, you're involved in your church, or you're involved in some sort of community group and you volunteer to take over, one of the nights, or you volunteer to serve somewhere. Putting yourself out there and trying new things. Another thing that I love to encourage, especially upper high schoolers and college age students, when they're like, I don't know what I want to do with my life, but I have some ideas of like, this field would be interesting, or this field would be interesting. I encourage them, talk to your parents or talk to people that you know that are maybe even in that field, or they know people who are in that field, and they can get you connected to them, whether you go to coffee with them, whether you go and shadow them one day, whether you just talk to them and say, I would love to know what your job entails. Putting ourselves out there and putting ourselves in positions to learn and to figure out the things that we like are going to be crucial in figuring out what's next for us, or in figuring out how to feel fulfilled in the season that we're in. Again, this can be really scary and this can be really overwhelming. This is coming from an introvert, somebody who is very aware. I am very aware of how much it takes for me to put myself out there when I am speaking at events, or when I'm putting myself out there in regards to photography or writing for people. That is extremely scary for me. That's okay. If you're fearful of that, that's totally valid. What I have learned, though, something that I have held on to, is I would rather be uncomfortable for a moment than be regretful for a lifetime. And so when I keep that in the back of my mind, or in the forefront of my mind, that's what gets me to a place of just putting my name out there, or just putting that email out there, or just having that simple conversation, and recognizing, okay, this moment is so uncomfortable, but I won't live a lifetime of regret of what if I would have put myself out there? What if I would have tried? So that is something that I have found really helpful for me in putting myself out there. Take that risk and start putting yourself in places where you can figure out what your passion is. Side note, with the idea of passion, I think it's important to note that just because we're not extremely passionate about something right away does not mean it's not for us. Sometimes we romanticize this idea of passion and it has to be so intense, and if it's not, then it's nothing. We do that in romantic relationships, but we also do that with places of like belonging, or, what gets us excited and going, and things that we like to do. Sometimes passion takes time. Give it some time. Give yourself some time. Learning new things takes time. And the other thing with that too, in putting yourself out there, which is something that I still struggle with, so I just need to put that out there. But when you put yourself out there, or when you try something new, you probably will not be good at it right away, and that is okay. I need you to know, I'm talking to myself, I need me to know that you will not be perfect the first time you try something new, and it's not fair to have those expectations of yourself. Putting yourself out there is going to require some risk. It's also going to require the ability to recognize that we may feel some embarrassment, or we may feel some uncomfortableness because we weren't perfect at it. And this leads me to my third thing that I think is really important, and that is dive into what you are passionate about. Dive into your passions. Now, again, this will probably come if you know what you're passionate about, or if you know what you just enjoy doing in life. Again, it doesn't have to be this full-fledged passion and everything within you, but even if there's an interest, or there's I wonder what that would look like, dive in. Say yes to opportunities. Say yes to things that will get you to that place of feeling fulfilled. One of the things I struggled with mentally before diving into places of passion was I always discredited myself, because in my mind, I'm like, okay, I can only be mental health and therapy, and that's it. But I realized one of my passions is pop culture. And for the longest time, I'm like, this is so stupid. Like, who likes pop culture? That doesn't even make any sense. And I'm telling you, for a long time, I've liked pop culture since getting my first People magazine, I think in like middle school. But let me tell you, anytime I talk about pop culture here, anytime I talk about pop culture on my TikTok, those are the videos that people are tuned into. Those are the videos that do well. And it's not all about the likes and, getting the views. But what I have realized is, oh wait, this passion isn't stupid. It's helpful, or it's fun, or it takes us away from the reality sometimes of how harsh this world can be. And for some of us out there, we have felt like, well, this is stupid. Nobody else likes A, B, and C. Nobody else would ever be interested in what I'm interested in. I promise you, there are people out there who are interested in what you are interested in. The other part that I have realized in this is I always felt like everything had to flow together. So like, okay, if it's therapy, then everything has to fall under the umbrella of therapy. But I realized I have always loved storytelling. I love people's story, which is part of the reason I loved pop culture, because I always loved stories and, seeing beyond the lights. And so for me, photography never was an idea that I was like, okay, I can really pursue this, because that has nothing to do with therapy. But what I realized is, wait, I can tell people's story, or I can see people's story through my lens. Photography is something that I have every right to dive into and enjoy and be interested in. Whatever you are interested in, whatever you find intriguing, whatever you are passionate about, whatever brings you joy, learn to dive into that. Say yes to those opportunities. put yourself in a place of receiving those opportunities. Show up. You can be multidimensional. I think for me, the longest time I was like, nope, I have one dimension. That's all I can do. And I'm realizing the older I get, wait, I have so many interests, and that's a beautiful, wonderful thing. And I can pursue what I want to pursue. And it doesn't take away from the original intent. It doesn't take away from my therapy practice, because again, I absolutely love what I do. I'm also learning to love things like YouTube, TikTok, or, now photography. You see, feeling lost isn't always a bad thing. I think sometimes feeling lost, if we allow it, can be the place that we learn new passions. Feeling lost can sometimes also be the place where creativity grows. So if you are feeling lost, if you are in a season of like, I don't know what's next, this is really scary, that's valid. That fear, that worry is valid, and I need you to acknowledge that. I also need you to know, though, that fear can be used to propel you into the place of purpose that the Lord has for you and that is ahead of you. Those feelings of fear can be used to motivate you to fully dive in and to become the person that I know that you have been created to be. So if you're feeling lost today, I'm hoping that today's video was encouraging. I'm hoping that today's video was empowering to you, and I'm hoping that it equips you on your journey in figuring out what's next. And remember, you don't have to do this journey alone. Like I said, I had that conversation with a good friend of mine, and we were able to encourage each other and challenge each other and lift up each other in the seasons of feeling lost. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Like I said, I know it's a little different than the norm or what has been coming out. But again, I am so thankful for you guys tuning in and watching yet another video. Remember, if you are interested in all things mental health, therapy, pop culture, reality TV, faith, all the above, then this might be the channel for you. I would love for you to go ahead, hit that subscribe button and hit that like button and turn on your notifications. That way you guys are notified when brand new videos are out and ready for you to watch. Be sure to tune in next week for a brand new video. Until next time, guys.